John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema Classics.
Cinema Classics is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to shows Thursdays at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. And listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Wayne Miller.
And this is Cinema
It
Classics.
sure is.
And you know, we've been broadcasting for, well, decades for NPR.
Exactly, yes.
And there's pretty much every genre that we can think of that we've covered.
Yeah.
One of the things that we always look forward to is a film with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, you know, he's a little bit more relatable, you know, as far as an action star, working class Brit, you know, type, not overly handsome, you know, actually a very buff guy, but not overly so.
He started out as a diver.
Yes, yeah, which came in handy for him with a couple of not so great films, Meg and Meg 2. But, you know, he's become one of my favorite action stars, especially since he's been in the Fast and Furious. But compared with, you know, other ones of movies of this genre and ilk, the John Wick movies, for example, and of course, you know, The Equalizer, you know, there's a number of other ones
well,
out
let's
there.
do that in our podcast.
Okay,
Now,
well,
that's double take.
yeah, it is, and, you know, I appreciate you being a Jason Statham and smacking me down when I get beyond the subject.
Well, anyway, our audience would like to know what film we are actually reviewing today.
You know, that would probably be
I
good
didn't
for
think it would. It's called A Working Man.
Yeah, well, and it's very, very typical Jason Statham type of movie.
Though I don't think that I've ever been as bold as to identify the blue collar group as people they'd like to embrace,
Yeah.
like to bring into the fold.
Yes, exactly.
Because there's nothing in this film that leads me to think he's a working man.
No, even though in a memorable line near the end of the movie, I think the guy that owns the bar or whatever, and he says something like, "You're not a killer. What? You're a working man."
Yeah.
You know that.
Well, he has taken a job as a foreman on a construction company.
Exactly.
All right, so
yes.
that's to try to pull him away from his background as a black ops guy, very well known
Yeah.
and very accomplished. And so he's been trying to hide in a sense.
Yeah, he's a former British Royal Marine Commando.
Yeah.
And his wife had committed suicide because of, you know, him being gone so much and his lifestyle. His father-in-law even refers to him as dangerous, and the father-in-law has custody, it seems, of his little daughter.
Yeah.
And this is a kind of an interesting thing. As the director, David Ayer, and also Statham did, not that long ago, geez, it just seems like just a few months ago, The Beekeeper.
This was a year or two ago, and everybody agrees it's one of his best. The Beekeeper.
It is. And I tell you, this one, one of the reviews I read, it said it could have been like maybe Beekeeper 2, but I have to tell you, I really liked Beekeeper more.
Oh, yeah. And you know, it's interesting, and I haven't explored it, but in an attempt to bring him close to us by giving him a real job.
Yes.
But it doesn't. The Beekeeper was never really a good fit for him, and as an occupation, he doesn't seem to belong to anybody, anywhere,
Right.
to any job. And
Yeah.
being a working man and a former in a construction company, perhaps gets us a little bit closer. But he's still an oddity.
Yes, and an oddity which particularly in this movie, A Working Man, is compared to The Beekeeper. They soften him up, I think, a lot more. Beekeeper did have that because he went on a tear, a revenge streak, because he was very close friends with this woman who committed suicide. Who he was living on her farm. That was the beekeeper. Here they try to soften him up more with the little daughter, and the scenes with the kid play out very well, but also the scenes with his buddies. You know, the blind guy that was.
I think that was great. I liked that sequence. It reminded me a little bit of Frankenstein.
Yeah, and David Harbour, who's done a number. He's more well known for being in the streaming, I think Netflix or something like that, Stranger Things. But also in one of my favorite movies of this kind, where you've got like an ex-commando or military or CIA guy who really kicks butt. And in the movie Violent Night, David Harbour plays a butt-kicking Santa Claus. And so, which
That's
I
right.
really
Yeah,
like.
that was enjoyable. The story is, I mean, is nothing too intricate.
Yes.
And you have explained it, and one of my favorite motifs now, across the board in these action films, is the connection between family members. And you're
Exactly.
constantly going, and very often it's the father and daughter.
Yes, yes.
And in this case, the friend goes for his friends played by
Michael Pena.
yeah, kind of toss-off role.
Yeah, but he's a good actor, and I've seen him in a number of other ones.
Yeah.
Besides Statham, the two recognizable
Yeah.
ones are David Harbour's as his blind buddy, and then his boss, whose daughter is
Yeah.
kidnapped.
And we've been kind of circling around this whole idea of abduction and human trafficking.
Exactly.
And, you know, we were really struck, as I remember, in seeing the Angel production company's Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
And that alerted us to the fact how popular this topic is.
Oh, very popular. And in fact, this movie kind of borders on the Liam Neeson movie Taken.
Well, there you go.
That his daughter is kidnapped and going to be kind of sold into human trafficking, and he's ex-military of some sort.
That's right.
Interesting again, he's Irish, but still part of the whole United Kingdom, thing over there. So it's funny that we've got a couple of people who really kick butt, who really are more from the United Kingdom and not American, with Liam Neeson and Jason Statham. But, and you're right, it's funny because, and I keep harping back on the beekeeper, but there was a family role there, and it was the woman who committed suicide and her FBI daughter who's trying to solve her murder.
Yeah.
And kind of like butts heads against Statham's character in this one. Here, the head butting is done a number of times, and I found it bordered really on the cartoonish, more so than the Beekeeper and a lot of the other movies like Equalizers and the John Wicks. And I think because of the very, very weird cast of villains.
And if you notice, and you would notice, it's almost, you almost can't tell who's getting hit in these. This air just loves the dark.
Well, and that was in several of the reviews I read, that they really, two things that they always that they talked about. One was it's very formula when it comes to Statham movies, and secondly, that the cinematography so dark, sometimes you can't tell what's happening.
Yeah.
But also, I found it confusing. Like, there's a biker gang. There's this a weird duo that come on later in the movie that are really strange, that are assassins. Then you've got probably half of the former Russian army that's wiped out.
We're back to hating Russians again.
Oh.
I don't know whether our president's going to like that or not,
Well,
but our artists are going back. There used to be Ukrainians.
I'll tell you.
Now we don't going to see any leather jacketed Ukrainians in it, but you're going to see Russians all over the place.
And I met the Russian mafia has become even much more feared than any of the urban gangs like the Crips and the Bloods, and also the old Italian mafia guys, or even cartels.
All right, Wayne Miller,
We got excited.
right, and we
about
haven't even
this.
mentioned that a producer and co-writer of this is Sylvester Stallone.
I know.
But we will, because we have our podcast coming up, and
Yes.
that's Double Take.
Yep.
Go to WCBE.org.
Yeah.
Wayne Miller, what do you suggest about a working man, and it is really Jason Statham?
Yeah, if you like The Beekeeper, if you like films of this type of genre, a solo person who seems indestructible, you'd like this one.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I'd probably give it a C or a C plus.
Yeah.
You know, it just got so confusing, and particularly by the cinematography.
I could let it slip by with a B.
Okay.
And that's only because, well, not because of the Beekeeper, but because he is such a magnetic character, Jason Statham.
Yes.
The movie is Statham.
Yeah.
I'm John DeSando.
Cinema, 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 cinema. Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends.